everyone. So I think it's probably prime time at 7,728.9 miles. I know a little bit about what this truck's getting for fuel economy, so I think it's about time to share that with you guys because, well, there seems to be some differing either opinions or experiences. So in a gas truck or in a diesel truck, if you drive like a moron, you're going to get a moron's fuel economy. Not going to lie to you guys. My Cummins, for instance, is capable of really phenomenal fuel economy. If you wanted to floor it all the time, you might be down getting 13, 14, if you want to go Mach 10 everywhere. And if you don't floor it at every intersection that you might come across. In the same way, the same truck with the same tune, everything's the same, could easily average 18, 19, 20 for a whole tank of fuel with mixed driving. In the same way, a gas engine, I think it's a little bit more sensitive. If you like to floor it all the time, you're going to be getting 10, 11, 12 empty. Regardless of whether you have a 6.4, 6.0, 5.4, 6.2 Ford. They never put a 6.0 in a, or a 6.2 in a 2500 or a 3500 Chevy pickup truck. No 6.2s have ever been put into an 8-lug Chevy pickup truck or Suburban or Yukon. An 8-lug, let me make that clear. There absolutely are obviously 6-lug Suburbans and Yukons with 6.2s. This engine specifically, I'm getting, says 15.8. Now I want to tell you guys that when I hand calculate, we are talking within 0.2 to 0.4, and usually it's slightly high. So let's say we're basically getting 15.5 right now. And this is a mixed tank with some idling, with some 65 mile an hour, with some 55 mile an hour, kind of the whole gamut of what you could have living in a rural environment. Stop signs every mile, stop signs every 5 miles, stop signs every 10 miles. You guys know what I'm saying. If you live in a rural environment, it can be varied, right? So I'm going to say 15 to 16 is not hard to do, empty, if you live in a rural environment and you have 55 mile an hour speed limits. Definitely not difficult to accomplish, and that includes if, for instance, I don't think even in Michigan it's very common to have 60 mile an hour speed limits. That's just not a number that is super common. Usually we're 55, 65, or 70, and in the up north regions of Michigan, 75. So if you have a 60 mile an hour speed limit, or let's just say you're going 60, again, you're probably talking 15 to 16, depending on how hard you like to get on the gas. And actually, this is a perfect opportunity. I'm going to be turning left here after a whole lot of traffic clears. This is a busy time. I'm going to go pick up my daughter. And everyone else who started work at, 6:30, 7, maybe just before 8, are getting out at 3:30. So this is how I accelerate up to 55 or 57 or whatever you like to cruise at. I find that this amount of acceleration, especially in this truck, allows you to maintain great fuel economy. You're not causing anybody any heartaches. First of all, there's nobody behind me. There's no reason to floor it getting going. This truck will happily operate, 1,500 RPM and less for normal activities between 60 and 0 miles an hour. When you're towing, doing that same level of acceleration, you're probably going to use idle to 2,000 RPM, which I think is one of the reasons that I really love this engine. This engine is very similar to my 2V V10 in that you can use the bottom portion of your speedometer or your tachometer for everything that you do, and let me tell you, it saves you some fuel economy when you have the torque to do so. If you have a Chevy 6.0 or a 6.4 Hemi or a 5.7 Hemi or a 6.2 Ford is another one, they have shorter stroke engines. They are not as powerful. They need to have the RPM. You need to be using, let's just say 0 to 2,500 RPM in normal driving, or you're going to be moving at a snail's pace. How you drive is everything when it comes to fuel economy, and I, for one, love to stick it to the man and get good fuel economy. Someone is probably going to say, well, screw good fuel economy. I want to be able to floor it everywhere. And to you, I say, what is the point of burning more fuel in your daily driver when you have a speed limit capping you on how quick you can go anyway, when you could be putting that wasted fuel economy into going Mach 10 on whether you do track days, you do autocross, maybe you ride snowmobiles or dirt bikes or God forbid you ride road bikes. Not that there's anything wrong with road bikes, but I work on a lot of crashes where people die on road bikes. So be careful if you're a road bike rider. But instead of wasting it when you don't need to accelerate all the time, just accelerate normally. Now, we have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit here. This is probably going to be basically the longest, slowest stretch that I ever do coming into the town where my daughter goes to school. This engine repeatedly is able to average 13.8 or so, hand calculated to 14.7 if you're doing freeway, 65 to 70, maybe some 75 if you're being very careful on how you're accelerating and there's no hills and there's no wind. I would call that extremely good for a gas engine. This engine, I would like to see the tune on it. I think that they have extremely well thought out lean cruise calibrating in here, as in the engine runs extremely lean when cruising because the engine makes enough power to do so. My theory is, and I'd really like to, once we can figure out how to unlock these 23s and 24s, which I hear is not that far around the corner, I would really like to pull the tune out of this truck and take a look at it, because I'd like to compare it to other tunes that I've seen, like for my buddy's 2016 6.0 Chevy 2500 that has a relatively complex tune. My assumption is that this has an extremely complex tune. I would like to see what this engine is doing when you're cruising, and specifically a lean cruise situation where the engine is purposely run extremely lean, taking advantage of the mechanical advantage that the engine has and is able to do, where you can lean the mixture out big time, burn very little fuel, still move the truck down the road without any trouble, as opposed to running cylinder deactivation, which would be like active fuel management is GM's term, and MDS, multiple displacement system, not syndrome, system, which is Dodge's version of doing that, where you can run the engine on 4 if you have a Dodge in earlier GMs. I have driven newer GMs where they even have a 6-cylinder functionality, and I believe they can even knock them down to 2 if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that too hard, because I believe I do remember seeing that they're able to run 2 cylinders on some of the GM trucks. I would say that you guys should probably already know about the challenges that these engines are having in terms of reliability. Not a big fan of any of those systems. I would much rather have a big displacement engine like this that is able to run, my assumption, in a lean cruise function and gets incredible fuel economy. To me, getting in a 1-ton truck that can do what this truck does, it's not just can do what I do with this truck, the fact that I'm able to get such relatively stellar fuel economy. And some tell me why my brand new phone with 3 different lenses takes so much to get it to zoom properly, or to oh boy, what are we going to call that, to focus properly. There we go. When you're towing, I find this truck to get, when we're hauling, say, dump trailer fully loaded, or the Mini on the trailer, you're talking big weight, 10, honestly, 10 to maybe 11, but really we're probably talking high 10s, low to high 10s. But that's honestly fairly good for a gas engine. Now, keep in mind, I live in a rural environment. We go 55 with the trailer around here. Honestly, even 50, why rush it? So, good fuel economy for that. If you're driving cross-country with, say, a 5th wheel, I would not be surprised to hear you're getting single digits. However, single digits with a gas truck is both expected, and if you're above 5, you're doing okay. For a marginal trailer or a middleweight trailer, say you have an enclosed cargo trailer that weighs, maybe 6,000, 8,000 pounds, 11 to 12 is not unusual. You're right at 11 with a lighter cargo trailer. Keep in mind, when towing, wind resistance is everything. I'm going to go and shut the car off because I do try and idle as little as possible. Not only because the 7.3 has a variable pressure fuel or oil pump that is potentially problematic in chassis cabs. Shouldn't really be a problem in this, but I'd rather not play the game of wiping a camshaft when I don't have to. Also because I don't like to waste fuel. So, and if you're towing, like, say, a flatbed, small flatbed, maybe it's not loading it heavily, maybe you have a car on it, or maybe you have a little tractor, something like that, you're probably looking at between 13 and 14 if you're driving at 55. Now, being that I don't really choose to go 75 with a big trailer, can't comment on that. Don't really choose to go 75 with even a middleweight trailer just because it's unnecessary. With a car trailer going 70, you know, we're around 11 and a half. You know, if you can maintain, you don't have to stop. You're burning a lot of fuel when you're accelerating. So if you can get on freeway and set speed control at 70, you're probably going to be about 11 and a half. I would call those good fuel economy. Now, somebody living in Colorado, someone living in, you know, the Appalachian Mountain area of all those states, or somebody living in the Rocky Mountain states, which obviously is more than just Colorado, but for instance, you Colorado people, your fuel economy is going to differ greatly because of your elevation and the grades to which you are driving. For us flatlanders, I think that this is a pretty fair shake on what the 7.3 is capable of doing when driven in a manner that isn't, you know, beating the tar out of your truck is probably the words that I'm going to say. Flooring it all the time, yeah, I'm sure it's going to last forever, but you burn a lot more fuel. Why do that when you can simply burn less fuel, be happy, take your time getting somewhere? The world should not be a rush. Keep in mind, your employer will post your job listing as soon as you're dead and hire somebody new probably before your funeral. So please don't risk your life or excessively drive over getting to work on time or getting to wherever you're going on time. Take your time. Everyone have a great day. Be safe. Please, let's turn around the statistics of fatal accidents. I really don't like working on them. They're unfortunate. So everyone, please be safe, especially you motorcycle riders and you power sport guys who are out having fun on snowmobiles. I wish Michigan had some snow. Go fast, stay safe. Take care, everyone.